Thanks for everyone for joining. I hope it will be valuable. So I think just to understand the purpose of spying, why do we want to spy? What can we get out of it? So I think knowing what our closest competitors are doing, and not only our competitors, but people online that we digitally admire, I think is quite valuable. One, from an inspiration point of view, we can understand if it's particularly creative that we like of theirs, what are they doing, how they're doing it, are they doing a mix of video, static, dynamic, whatever the case is. I think it's important to speed up our learning. We don't have to go through the same challenges as our competitors have gone through if we can just fast track that and really learn from them and understand what they're doing, how much they're spending on different platforms. We don't almost have to reinvent the wheel from scratch, particularly if our closest peers and competitors have already done it. And I guess the last part, it's quite cool. It's kind of cool knowing how much other guys are spending, how much other guys are making, and I think that's always an interesting part of it as well. All right, so let's jump in. There's essentially 3 parts that I'll go through today. Can everyone see the big Apple logo? All good?
Yes, all good.
I think let's clarify that now rather than 20 minutes down and no one's seen my screen. All right, so the 3 parts that we'll break down today are, number 1, just having a look at what ads people are running online. And the 2 companies we're going to analyze today are Apple and a store called the Google Merchandise Store, and I'll show you a bit more why we're going to analyze that shortly. So first thing is really from a paid ad perspective, Google ads, Facebook ads, TikTok ads, LinkedIn ads. How can we just see what they're doing? The second thing we're going to do is we're going to try and do a bit of analysis or spying to understand how much they're actually spending online. And the third part, which is really specific for e-commerce stores, is how can we actually see how much someone, through a whole bunch of different approximations, is actually making online. So that's 3 things we're going to go through. So to start, just to go through each store we're going to analyze as if they were competitors or as inspiration, digital inspirations for us, is 1, Apple, and 2 is the Google Merchandise Store. So the Merchandise Store is a store run by Google where they basically sell any merchandise that's branded Google. So hats, t-shirts, and so on and so on. The reason why this one's quite interesting to analyze is, particularly for the last part of it, we're going to try and estimate people's revenue, is Google gives everyone access to their Google Analytics for this particular store. So it's essentially as a learning mechanism to help people learn how to work Google Analytics. If there's a new Google Analytics that came out about a year ago, more or less, so they allow us to kind of play within that analytics as if it's ours, so we can see how much traffic they get, how much revenue they get, and so on and so on. So it's quite a nice store to analyze, because when we try and figure out how much our competitors are making online, this is a good almost litmus test or double check that our methods of trying to figure that out are accurate or not. Right, so let's jump into the first part, which is essentially really just viewing people's ads online. And this is a very simple process. All the tools I'm going to show you today, barring 1, which has a free part of it, but barring 1 are all free. So we can all jump into them, and they're super easy to use. They're readily available, and I'll kind of go walk you through each one. All right, so every paid media platform, that means any platform online which has an ability to run ads, has what they call a transparency center or an ad library. So transparency center is essentially a database of all the ads that are actually running today. So all we need to do to find that, you just type into Google Ads Transparency, or you can try Google Ads Library or Facebook Ads Library, and it will take you into a screen like this, where it will essentially allow us to input any website we want. You can put a competitor, you can put your own website, doesn't matter. And essentially how you configure it is all you do is you configure what time frame you want to see ads, where you want to see. You can say South Africa, you can say anywhere in the world, and then you literally just type in the company website that you're trying to analyze. And what it does, so just to start with Apple for a second, it gives us all Apple ads that are running. So we can see all their Google ads, all their search ads that they're running. If we kind of scroll down a bit more, let's see if we can see something interesting. So they're running lots of search ads, and we can literally see, as I say, every ad they're running. I think they're running 1,000+ ads. So there's a lot to go through. The other part where it's quite nice to analyze ads is not only for the search ads, but you'll see from the Google Merchandise Store perspective, they're running not only search ads, but they're running some display ads. There's some YouTube ads in here, some visual ads. So there's a lot that we can go through. And it gives us an indication of how many different types of ad formats they're running. And again, particularly if we're trying to analyze a competitor, it might be interesting to see the split of how they're running ads. Are they running a lot of these search ads? Are they running shopping ads? Whatever it may be. So it gives us a nice fast track into inspiration, and in some ways how advanced they are from an ad perspective. Sometimes you'll see a competitor's only running one type of ad, where it seems quite obvious that they should be running many types of ads. So it kind of gives us an understanding into their level sometimes. Jumping to another ads library, and again, they operate pretty much identically. This is the Facebook ads library. See, they're running about 6,000 ads at the moment. I think I might have triggered from all time, so that might be of all time. And again, we can see every ad they're running, from their video ads. Again, we can see different ones in different countries. We can sort by country. And again, it gives us a great selection. So if you're scrolling through Facebook and Insta and you see some cool ads from a company, it's quite nice then to go deeper and actually just to input the URL, see what they're running. Again, even if they're not a competitor, quite nice as a general inspiration. You will also see what's quite useful in these tools if we're not looking at Apple, but we're trying to look at the Google Merchandise Store. So I'll type it like this. You'll see nothing actually comes up, which essentially tells us that they're actually not running any Facebook ads. So besides for analyzing and understanding what your competitors or what your inspirations are doing online, it is quite a good way to fast track to understand what mediums they're actually running. It might be that you think TikTok could be extremely, so I'm just jumping to the TikTok one. It might be that you think TikTok is extremely exciting for your brand, and you're checking out all your competitors in your space, and none of them are running on TikTok. That may be a signal that TikTok's maybe not right for your space. So just as powerful it is to know what they're running, it is quite powerful to know if they aren't running anything. I think there's some value to be taken from there. So that's really part one, and that's really understanding what ads are running. The next one is, or the next thing we're going to go through is actually understanding how much people are spending online. This is slightly more complicated, not much, but also quite useful and quite exciting. Now, the tool I'm going to show you today, and there are quite a lot of them out there. I'll give you the two that I would suggest. Is one, this is called SpyFu. There's another one called SEMrush. Those are probably the most common and most accurate tools out there. And what they do, if you input a store, so if we've inputted Apple here, they give us an understanding of how many different keywords people are advertising. So this is particularly for Google Ads. It's a bit more tricky to actually get social paid estimates, but it gives us an idea of how many ads they're running or how many Google ads they're bidding on, and it gives us an estimation of their budget. So we can see they're running, almost $2 million a month. And again, you can sort it by country, by ad type, whatever the case is. One note, there are some of the tools, so SpyFu is one of those, is only available in certain countries. So you might not have all the data for every competitor, but tools like SEMrush, I'll put it in the notes at the end, are available everywhere. So you have South African data, no problem. But they all work a very similar type of way. The other way, which people use, and it's actually a more accurate way than using a third-party tool to understand how much competitors are spending online, is a thing called Auction Insights. And Auction Insights are, so we have a truck basically driving right next to us. So Auction Insights is a Google tool, and the requirement to kind of view Auction Insights is you have to be running your own Google Ads. And when you are running your own Google Ads, you'll see a little drop down or a little graph, which is Auction Insights. And basically what that does, it tells us exactly, compared to us, how much our competitors are spending. And separate to that, it tells us how much we're spending compared to the available spend potential out there. So for example, again, this is just like a default little template, but if it shows us we're spending 30%, we have 30% impression share, it typically means that we're missing out on 70% of the searches out there. But it will give us all our competitors listed right next to us who are also running ads, and that will give us indication how much more our competitors are spending versus us, or in some cases, how much less they're spending than us, and in some cases, who's actually a big competitor of yours that you're aware of that's actually not on the list at all, which typically means that there's no overlapping keywords or they're not running ads at all. So the most accurate way actually to get spend data on your competitors is actually to use real live Google data, which is a report in Google Ads called Auction Insights. But that's number two. So first, trying to understand what are people running online. The second thing, we're trying to understand how much people are spending online. The third thing, and probably the most interesting and exciting of the lot, is actually how much are they making online. Now, this again is available for e-commerce sites only. Of course, on a site that's not e-commerce, we can't get revenue data because the site's not making any revenue. And how we do this is a formula which we're going to use some ChatGPT to kind of help us just calculate the numbers. But we're going to start with a basic formula, which is not the formula that we're going to use to calculate numbers, but just to understand how revenue is calculated. So any e-commerce site has three metrics we need to know in order to ascertain how much revenue it's making. So number one, we need to know how much traffic it's getting. Part one. Part two, we need to understand the conversion rate of the site. So if they're getting 100 visitors a day, how many of those visitors are actually buying? And thirdly, if we know how many people are buying a day, what is the actually average order value? If we know all those three factors, we're then able to calculate basically the revenue of any site. Now, what happens most of the time, we don't know any of those factors unless we use a couple spying tools, a couple approximations, and so on. Now, the biggest two approximations that we typically do not know going into analyzing a website is what their conversion rate is. And the second thing is what their order value is. The two best, I'll get to the traffic, how we actually know the traffic after that. The two ways to do this is actually fairly easy ways to get this data. So conversion rate data is mostly readily available per industry, and per country. So if you're selling clothing online, there's a very accurate average conversion rate across clothing. There's accurate conversion rate across cosmetics, and so on and so on. The other way you can use, and probably even more accurate than that, is if you're trying to analyze a competitor and not a site outside of your industry, you can typically use your own conversion rate, which is usually like for like, quite similar. You can double check that against industry data, but that's usually a fair way to do it. Next after that is order value. And again, the most accurate way to do it is you can use industry data, but it's really to copy what your average order value is and essentially superimpose that across the competitors you're analyzing. The part that this doesn't take care of, and why it's way too simplistic, and if you try to even on your own site, it won't give you probably accurate numbers, is that all traffic converts differently. So if someone knows who you are as a brand and actually types in your URL or their direct traffic, that traffic converts very differently to someone coming from a Facebook ad that's never actually heard of you before and is just kind of scrolling through Facebook and stumbled upon a specific ad, clicked a Facebook ad and come to your site. So in order to actually make this meaningful and accurate, we need to kind of beef up this approximator into something like this, which looks like a real big mouthful, and I'll kind of just explain the concept behind it. If we go back to the simple, basic, crude revenue calculator, it assumes all traffic converts at the same rate, meaning that the person that knows who you are very well and has probably bought from you 10 times before is converted at the same rate as someone that's come to your site for the first time and come through a Facebook ad or a TikTok ad. What this does, this fact calculation, it basically groups traffic sources differently and it groups branded search differently, meaning that it understands that someone coming from direct is more likely to buy and someone coming from social is less likely to buy. Also, someone that's actually has typed your brand into Google is much more likely to make the purchase as opposed to someone that hasn't typed your name into Google. So what this and again, I'll post this for everyone at the end. If they want to use it, you can kind of try it on your own website just to, because you know the backend data, so you know the numbers are accurate or not. But this is essentially, I'm going to kind of just copy and paste this thing so we can stick it into ChatGPT and see what it gives us. But I'll just kind of walk you through how this works. So just preceding that, we have a very powerful tool, and probably the most powerful of all tools when it comes to analyzing or spying on competitors. And that's a tool called SimilarWeb. And what SimilarWeb does is we can put any website we want into it. So I've used the Google Merchandise Store as an example, because again, we have the backend data. We can see how much revenue they're making. We can see how much traffic they're getting, and so on and so on. And what SimilarWeb does, it actually scrapes the site and gives us an understanding of all the traffic that they're getting on a month-by-month basis. So we can see on average, it's analyzed Google Merchandise Store, and it says on average over a period of 3 months, it's had 382,000 visitors. If we scroll down, scroll up a little bit. Here we are. You'll see the average therefore is 127,000 visitors. And it gives us, well, the next part it gives us, which is quite interesting, it gives us a breakdown of all their traffic they're getting. So if you want one speed way to analyze a website and understand what's really happening on that, this is a great, I know we've ended with this, or we almost ended with this, but this is a great starting tool because it tells us traffic numbers. It then tells us the split of the traffic, so we can see how much they're spending on Google Ads, which is called paid search, how much they're spending on display ads, how much they're getting in terms of traffic from organic search, social referrals, and direct email, and so on and so on. And you can use this again on any site in any country, and it gives really, really accurate data. And then if we scroll down a little bit more, it also then breaks down what is the split of the traffic. So the difference in branded and non-branded is branded is essentially search, which contains your brand name. So if your company's name is X, it will tell you how many people have come to your site by knowing they're looking for you first and searched X versus non-branded search. That means they're searching for your category or your product or that. And this is extremely important when analyzing or predicting someone's revenue, because again, these convert very differently. So once we have all this data for a website that we're trying to analyze, we then use this little magic formula which we've created. And I'll just kind of walk you through it, and then we'll stick it in ChatGPT and spit out a number. But what we're trying to do here is basically estimate the revenue of a competitor store. And the competitor store we are going to estimate here is actually our Google Merchandise Store, and particularly because we have the backend data, so we can actually almost give ourselves a double check to see if that revenue calculation is right or not. So we essentially go through the numbers. We say the total traffic is whatever SimilarWeb tells us the traffic numbers are, and then we take the traffic split as SimilarWeb gives us. So we say this is how much is direct traffic, this is how much is referral traffic, this is how much is social traffic, and so on and so on. We then input the average conversion rate. Again, this is where we'll get from either industry averages, or we'll take our own store average if we're comparing a direct competitor. And then we start using some different levers to say that if it's paid search, change the conversion rate, because we know paid search converts better. If it's social traffic, half that conversion rate, because we know social traffic converts worse. And same with referral traffic. We then also tell them about brand traffic, how to treat brand traffic slightly different. So we'll say organic search is 15%, but treat different organic search is 15%, but treat organic search differently if it's branded search versus non-branded search. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to tell, in this case, ChatGPT just to do a calculation for us, but we're trying to use all the things we know from all other companies in terms of how traffic converts. And we're trying to analyze each of those traffic users slightly differently to give us that final revenue number. Once we've done that, we say, cool, please estimate the overall monthly revenue. And we say, AI, do your work. And it starts to calculate based on our calculation. Obviously, you would substitute the numbers for the site that you're trying to analyze differently. So you take their traffic numbers that SimilarWeb's giving you, you'd split that as a percentage from direct referrals and social, according to, again, what SimilarWeb's giving you. And then it would finally spit out a number. So we're going to see what it spits out here. Our target that we're going to get to while it's just doing its whole calculation story is we're going to see how accurate, it's never going to be obviously perfect, it's just an assumption, is how close we can predict there's 178,000 in revenue. So let's see, it's still going. It's going to do its whole calculation story. You could do this. You could essentially build this through in Excel also, but it's kind of just easier to stick this in a one paragraph statement and see what it gets us. It's also nice to have the anticipation to see as it's going, what's it going to tell us, So it's going to go, it's going to show us how it's doing it, adding, and it's going to give us a final number of $207,000, which isn't exactly correct, but it's not a million miles off for a pure approximation without having any backend access. But in a nutshell, that's the three things or three ways you can do concourse spying. You can get a lot of information, I would say, even before you start building your campaigns. And that's probably the right way to do it. A lot of the success of marketing campaigns is in the planning. And often the best way to plan is to understand what your closest competitors are doing, and in some ways copy that. Take the stuff that's working and remove the stuff that's not. And that is our competitive spying 101 in about 30 minutes. Any questions, please shout, ask, and yeah, I'll try and answer.
So Michael, this is basically, you can do that on companies that use Google Ads, right? If I understand correctly. If they don't use Google Ads, then...
Yeah, so this is really to analyze any paid advertising. So maybe to kind of summarize the three different things we're doing. So you can analyze anyone's traffic to their website, regardless if they're running ads or not. So using SimilarWeb, that can give us traffic estimation numbers. So it can tell us how much traffic they're getting, number one. And number two, it can tell us where's that traffic coming from? Is it Google ads? Is it Facebook ads? So basically the source of their traffic, even if it's not ads, is it direct traffic, organic traffic? The next thing we're going through is if they are running actual paid ads, doesn't have to be Google, can be Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, whatever. We can then actually analyze what they're doing from an ad perspective. So that's kind of the two, I guess the two groupings.
Okay, thanks. You mostly spoke about the retail sort of the e-consumer. I was wondering, those businesses that are here, are they in what space they are? Is it relevant? Do they have like other questions? I don't know if there's on the chat.
And I have a question.
Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah. You might have covered this.
Yeah.
How does one know which is the best type of ad for your industry?
So I think from a platform perspective, it's probably quite good just to do that initial analysis and just see where your competitors are actually running at. And I think often you'll find there's lots of platforms that they're not running ads on, which isn't definitely to say that it's not right to do it, but it's a good indication that it's probably not right to do it. So for example, if you have 10 competitors and you're checking these tools and you can see 10 of them are running Google ads and none of them are running Facebook ads, it's probably a good indication that Google's a better fit than Facebook.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Charlene. Anybody else have any questions for Michael?
Good. I'm here almost all day, at least for the next 5 minutes.
Can I ask something?
Go ahead, please.
Hi, Mike.
How's it?
How's it? If we wanted to consult with you and get an idea, for you to help us through our scope out the competition.
Yes.
Because this is quite complex. Even though you explained it, you simplified it.
Yes. Yes.
Would you do something like that?
Yeah. So I have an agency that's really does digital marketing. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, it's I try to simplify it, but it's different. But I live in it every day. So if it's not super clear, that's on me.
No,
No,
I
it
think
wa-
that it's not. Yeah, I think what would have been interesting to see, like if we were to do a sort of survey of the type of businesses we have,
Sure.
and do they use what are paid, if they do paid ads or they don't do, so that will give us an understanding also. But I see there's a question from
Yeah, I see
Lisanne.
Liz. No,
Yeah.
no one can see if you've been spying on them. You can spy in peace. You can spy in freedom.
It's not like LinkedIn.
No, it's not like they've viewed your profile or they've stalked you. No, that'd be quite cool, but you can you can go wild.
Yeah. Hmm.
Any other questions,
But
guys?
maybe, Mike, do you want to mention the name of your company? If people want to, if you want to maybe pop it in the contact details for if anyone wants to contact you for
Sure.
this type of work.
I'll put it through here. I'll stick it at the bottom. And yeah, can drop a message if anyone needs help or has any questions. Feel free to ask, of course.
And Mike does an amazing work in that space and really been a mentor for us for so many years. So yeah. Any other questions?
I just have one question. Just
Yes.
like, I don't know if we can do a poll, like you spoke about the LinkedIn, everyone know that thing, that feature on LinkedIn, who's viewed your profile. Like how many people were to pay for who's viewed your profile on Facebook or Instagram?
Oh, interesting.
That'd be quite interesting.
Yeah. But also, how many people are using now Facebook? I mean, we've seen, for example, from outside, our target audience. So when you look at Facebook, it's mostly very young, the young from the outreach community that we work with are mostly active there. If we want to look for businesses or a target audience, for example, to connect with on other elements, it may be LinkedIn. So it becomes very, and also then you look at Instagram, which is very younger group. So I think it depending on the platform and what your target audience is.
Yeah, for sure. I
Yeah.
think just in the socials, besides for LinkedIn, which is probably we're the only one that's more suited to business, but the other ones they all start and they all go through the same progression and then they age up. So Facebook started for college kids, and now it's mostly, not only of course, but mostly used by, let's say, 40 plus people in terms of age. Then Instagram then was for young kids, and now that's probably in the 30-year-olds. Then TikTok was for young kids, and now TikTok's aging up.
So what's the next one?
That's the question. Who knows, eh? Who knows? I
Yeah,
think just
because
an
it
interesting
is.
thing, they say there's 1 million. I saw this recently. There's 1 million TikTok users in South Africa over the age of 50.
Wow.
And over the age of
Wow.
60, what's
Only
the
the stats only go to over the age of 50, then they stop counting.
so you mean the life after 60?
Yeah. In the same, it puts it in the same bucket.
Wow.
Yeah.
And from your side, Mark, where do you see it's the most useful platform to do paid ads? Or is it
I think it's very
dependent on the
it's very
target?
dependent. I think probably still in South Africa, Facebook and Instagram are still probably the best. Again, it's obviously specific to different things, but that's still the most effective. It's the most mainstream of platforms. People have had amazing results on Twitter or X now. People have had amazing results on TikTok, but I think majority, if you're going to do one thing, it's probably Facebook and Insta.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much, Mike. Thank you, Ariella. Appreciate your input.
Thank you.
So, guys.
Before everyone leaves, can you guys
Mm.
take some time to complete the feedback survey that I'm gonna put up?
Yeah, send to me directly, please.
Ariella,
Huh? Sorry?
Yes.
Can you run a
Did you
more
ask that?
Yeah, Mark was absolutely wonderful. Thank you very, very much. But
Thank
can you run a more in-depth course?
Potentially.
I'll be number one to be
Cool.
there.
I look forward.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.